It's freaking hilarious when I'm out and about and I see y'all. Okay, like, because most of the times people are really afraid to come up to me and they just kind of like stare, but I swear, you guys, it makes it 1,000 times worse when all you're doing is just staring at me. I would so much rather prefer you just come up to me, just say something, because I can feel everybody stares. And it's just funny because, like, we were in Chinatown and there was this girl there and she messaged me. She actually said that she saw me in Chinatown, but she was too afraid to come up to me. Like, just come up to me, you guys. Just do it. But I will say that the #1 comment I always get from you guys whenever I meet you is how much taller I am than you guys thought. So I am 5'5". Okay, I'm 5'4.75", y'all. 5'4.75". I am 1/4 of an inch away from 5'5". When I was like in the 7th grade, I was 5'6". So you know what? It's true. Don't lift weights. You will shrink your spine, okay? Like, you'll compress it, okay? Don't lift weights. I went through a period of my time where I lifted weights a lot because I was into rock climbing. Don't do it. You'll shrink, you guys. And then, but now, like, no matter how many times I try to check my height again, I'm still 5'4.75". So, but I look like I'm 5'5". If you put my shoes on, like my flip-flops, okay, I'm probably 5'5". But that is the #1 comment I get from everybody. It's always about my height, that I'm a lot taller than they were expecting. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. This is my Shaman Memoirs channel. I'm Tassie, and I know I missed last week, but you know what? I was in Chicago. It was my birthday, so it was beautiful. I freaking love Chicago. I'm sure you guys have heard of this in my other videos. The last time I went to Chicago, but I freaking love Chicago. Like, if I could afford to live in downtown Chicago, I would. But my family and we went there for my birthday, and I had some girlfriends go with me as well. So it was a nice birthday vacation. And, you know, we did our usual where my sisters, a few of them have never been to Chicago. And so it was their first time going, and I showed them to, you know, Chinatown, and we went to the Navy Pier. We saw a comedy show, Mike Stanley. We had a good time. We had a really good time. I did not have a lot of crazy ghostly stuff that happened, you know, like the only thing that happened. Okay, there's 2 things that happened. 2, okay. The third one was, it didn't really happen to me. It was just, there's a ghost in your room. You know, like, but it wasn't in my room. So literally we went to Chicago, and I remember I fell asleep next to my sister. You know, they were just always in my stories because I'm always around them. So literally, I fell asleep with my sister, next to my sister, and I remember I woke up, and it was one of those things where I'm already propped up on the bed, and I remember I'm asleep, but my eyes are open, and I'm staring at her because there's a girl standing next to her. Now, this girl, I have rarely, I want to say very, very rarely have I ever actually seen her. She is an entity that's around this sister since she was like born. Okay. So anyways, this girl, I remember I woke up, but I was still asleep, but I was already sitting propped up on the bed, looking at my sister's stomach because the girl was standing there. And then I remember I blinked a couple of times, and then that's when I realized I was awake and I was already in the position of sitting up. And I remember I was just staring at where the girl was, but the girl was just as shocked that I was looking at her because, I mean, all this time I've not seen her because my sister and I, obviously, we slept next to each other before, but I've never actually seen her like that. So it was kind of weird. You know, I kind of feel like because my sister had traveled, she was checking up on her to make sure that she was still there, could find her. But anyway, so, you know, like, I don't know why she doesn't really scare me or alarm me. She ain't good for you, no, but it's not like it's a scary thing. All right, so back to Chicago. Yeah, we saw the Mike Stanley show. The other ghostly thing that happened there was, you know, one of my girlfriends, she had a ghost on her. And it was really weird because I noticed when we went the next day to go eat together. Because then I remember I saw her in the morning there, and I didn't think anything of it. Even the night before, we had dinner together. We went to the comedy show. I didn't even think anything. And then the next morning we had breakfast, and then finally for like brunch we met up again. And I remember I saw her and it hit me. I was like, holy cow, she has a ghost on her. But yeah, like, you know, like, but that's not scary to me. But then it was kind of weird because a couple nights after I kept dreaming of her, of my friend there. And it was showing me a lot of crazy stuff about her life and how she's feeling. And it's things that, you know, like, I was just kind of like taken aback, like, why am I dreaming of this? Why am I seeing this? But pretty frequently, my girlfriends there, I tend to dream of them when certain things happen in their lives. Especially if they get into fights. I don't know, because they're sisters and they all fight all the time. So I always dream of it, you guys. But anyways, in particular, I dreamt of this sister like constantly. Like I kept waking up and going back to sleep, dreaming of her, waking up, and it was just constant. So it's just one of those things where her spirit was really just trying to call out to me. But you know, it's a private matter. You know, I know how to mind my own business. Okay, I swear I'll finish my Chicago story. So we went through Chicago, and in Chicago, we had a great time. We went through Chinatown, saw tons of stuff. There's my favorite candy store in there. And then I found these favorite chips of mine and this other favorite kind of candy of mine. And now I need to go to Amazon and buy it because I have an addictive personality. If I find food of some kind and I really like it, I buy a lot of it. Okay. So yeah, I'll be going to Amazon. And, you know, we went through the bakeries. It was a lot of fun. We went through all the little shops, all the little trinket stores. So it was just really nice because then I got to take my sisters there to see it. Navy Pier was beautiful as always. It was hot as heck in Chicago. We went to the Magnificent Mile, which is on Michigan Avenue. We went to the 5-story, what's it called? Starbucks Reserve. It's like this bougie Starbucks, you guys, with 5 floors. The top floor is this tiny deck that you can sit and have coffee, and they don't have enough restrooms in this place, but it's just really freaking cute. They have bakery, they have a bar, and you can see them roasting coffee and everything like that. It's really nice. It was nice. We actually spent a really long time in that store. I think it longer than we had intended, but then we got pizza. You guys, of all the places, you go to a Starbucks to get pizza, and it was delicious. It was freaking delicious pizza, you guys. I had a really good time in Chicago with my family for my birthday. And then guess what? We were going to be flying home, but then Delta had overbooked our flight. So they needed 6 people to give up their seats for $500. So we're all sitting there, and I'm sitting there like, $500, like that's a really good option, because you can have a Delta card or you can have Amazon or a Visa card. And then all of a sudden they said they needed 5 people now for $800 each. Okay, I said to my sisters, bye, I'll see y'all back in Minnesota later tonight. So finally we had all like, okay, let's all do it. It's $800 each, right? It's $2,800. So we go up there, and now they only needed 1 person. So boo-hoo, here I go back to Minnesota without my $800. But then I'm on the flight that I wanted, so it is what it is. So somebody recently had asked me about, like, can you kill spirits or get rid of spirits or ghosts at the cabin? Because you know how I had gone to the cabin and it was haunted. They were basically wondering, like, can I onang or do something like that at the cabin? So, and then they also asked, or does it only apply to Hmong spirits? So I really wanted to touch base on that, you guys, because when it comes to spirits, it really doesn't matter what they are, you know. So if this was like the ghost of a living person per se, right? And if they cannot speak English, and let's say all you can speak is English, the only way you would really be able to communicate with them is if you had your spirit guides, because then your spirit guides can bridge that connection, so that way you can communicate with one another. Now, in the case when it is just a spirit of something that, you know, was never alive and passed away, so that's a ghost, right? And so if it's a spirit or if it's a demon, they can understand you regardless of what language you're speaking, whether you have spirit guides or not who are helping you communicate. All right, so the whole point of this is, so I would typically not do this. Like if I went to like a cabin or I was staying at somebody's house, generally what I would do is just really protect myself. And that could be as simple as having my spirit guides come out to protect me. Or I can also, I have done this. Okay, I have woken up someone's guides before. I'm just saying, okay, like, because I knew they were going to get sleep paralysis when I left them. I don't know why my stories just get crazier. Okay, it's not like, okay, and the only reason why I did this was because it was my sister, okay? If this was like a friend or a random person, I'm sorry, but I would not wake up your spirit guides to protect you. I mean, like, you know, I just told them in that moment, okay, like, because I have a sister, really quickly, okay, you guys, I have a sister who, when she sleeps, she frequently will get sleep paralysis. And so I had slept over, but then I was getting up before her because I was going to an event first and she was going to come later in the day. So when I got up, I remember I was looking at her laying in bed and I was like, oh, I don't feel okay. Like, I know she's going to go back to sleep even if I try waking her up. So I stared at her and then I said, wake up. And then I woke up her guides and I told them to protect her while I was gone. Okay. So that was the only thing that I did. Okay. It's not like, you know, I told them to go do something else. Like, they're just protecting their owner. Okay. Like, sometimes they need that push. Okay. Like, but in general, I don't walk around waking up people's spirit guides, okay? I just don't really do that. But I felt really fearful in that moment. Like, it's this moment that just comes over you where you know every fiber of your being, this is going to happen unless you stop it. So yeah, that's what happened. But back to the story that I was talking about, you guys. So usually, like, if I go to a cabin or I'm sleeping over at someone's house, okay, I'm not going to, you know, like, do all this voodoo stuff in your house, okay, or the cabin, because that's a lot of energy and people don't really understand that kind of work and how much energy goes into it. So why would you waste your energy in a place that's not even yours and you probably won't be back forever or even a very long time, okay? So, and it goes hand in hand with, you know, when you are a shaman, your spirit guides will teach you a lot about how not to be taken advantage of, because your spirit guides refuse to be taken advantage of. They really do. I was going to say even by yourself, but I'm guilty of this. Okay, because I'll wake them up randomly too and then tell them to go to sleep when I need it. I'm just saying, you guys. Okay, so back to my story about the cabin thing. Usually people just do like kakong, like black magic. You can do that. However, I just wake up certain guides to make sure that they protect me. That's pretty much all that I do. Some people will do strings. They will pray at their sika, which is the shrine of their ancestors, for protection. So you can do all sorts of different things, but usually that's what I do. And again, it doesn't matter if it's among spirit or not, you guys. They're all touchable in the spirit world. Speaking of, have I ever seen other spirits that were not monk? I mean, that's an obvious one. I have. I've seen of all different races, you guys. It doesn't matter. It's, I don't know. It's just, it's not, they're just not scary unless they look back at you. Then it's kind of scary, okay? Then it's kind of like trying to hide behind somebody. But it's really stupid. If you guys could really see spirits in me, it's like we're both trying to hide from each other. Unless they're evil ones, okay? Then they will try and touch me. They'll try to come over to me. Then it's too close for comfort. But in general, if spirits and I notice and see each other, we try to avoid one another. But they don't realize how much I'm trying to avoid them. They're just too busy trying to avoid me. So sad. Okay, so we are going to talk about, you know, people who are going to be a shaman or they want to be a shaman, but they just don't have the support. We have done videos on this, y'all. We have. And I am going to really just focus this whole video really on this topic, though, just to finally, you know, any way to try and help you guys as much as I can. Definitely check out my student teacher videos that I frequently talk about. But I will let you guys know that that was me. You know, I was raised, my whole family, we were raised going to an all-white Lutheran church. You know, we didn't grow up with shamanism. When we did, it was because of our stepfathers. My mom wanted to return to shamanism, but my dad totally didn't. And so my father, he still goes to church to this day. Whereas my mom, she followed shamanism. However, it was one of those things where, you know, like growing up, we didn't believe in it. It was like our mom's crazy voodoo. Like that's literally what we would refer it as, because we didn't know anything about it. You know, like nobody really taught you. Everybody would just yell at you, especially during ceremony day. And the last time we helped with a ceremony, it was okay. So my mom lives in California. However, she lived in Minnesota for a long time. And it was during her third marriage that was the last time she had a ceremony. And we older siblings went to go help because there's 16 of us total. And so, you know, like us older siblings, you know, 'cause we're part of the original older ones. So I'm the youngest out of the older ones. And my mom was having a ceremony done at her house, and it was with our step relatives, okay? So it was just really bad, you guys. We basically went, started a fight. We threw a table. We were trying. You guys have to remember, I was a terrible kid, you guys. I was a bad kid. I talked back. I had a smart mouth. Like, I called you out on everything. It was just, I was just such a righteous person that anything that wasn't right, it pissed me off, like royally. And I would just go at it because I was so passionate and I believed that I was right and you go down. So it was just bad, you guys. So yeah, that was the last ceremony I ever helped my mom with. We obviously got kicked out. So it was just like, what the, like, why are you kicking us out? Yeah, but basically something had happened and we overheard it while it was happening. And then so, you know, tables went flying, started squaring up next to grandma's. It was just bad. I was like, I don't even know. Was I like 14 years old, 15 years old? So it was terrible, you guys. Yeah, but that ceremony was the last one we ever went to. But, you know, it's one of those things where you go and you help just because you know it's required of you, but you don't believe in it. You know, you don't practice it whatsoever. And so, you know, I didn't grow up with shamanism in my family. And if my mom did something, it wasn't like the old school shamans. Like the shaman I ended up becoming, you know, like where you have ceremonies and you have animals there. She was more of like the show type. I don't even know what she was, you guys, okay? I'm not even gonna go there, okay? I just know she does something, but it's not my lineage, it's not my style. And so it's just, that's just all we ever knew. So we didn't know anything of our mom other than, you know, she doesn't explain anything to us either, y'all, growing up. Remember, she was the woman who denied that we were haunted in this house. She left us alone after seeing a bucket fly across the room, okay? So she was not very there for us when it comes to haunted stuff, you know? So, you know, she really didn't take the time to explain things. You know, when we got older, we asked her again about the haunted houses. She admits that they were haunted, and she also admits that she just didn't know what to do at the time. So yeah, there was my little gold trophy. Like, I knew it all along. Okay, like, yeah, there I go. All right, so back to my story. When I actually ended up becoming a shaman, I was 22. I was like 22 years old around that time. And you know, like my family and us, we didn't go to church. We didn't practice shamanism. We just lived life, you know, like it's not like we were atheists. Some of us, we just, you know, like we just weren't actively practicing, right? So I totally understand where people are when you don't actively practice either parties, you know, like you just kind of live your life. Like I was that person, you know. And then when I actually became one, it was really shocking to my family. But above all else, even if they don't believe in it or what you're doing, etc., they will always support you. You know, so support has always been really big in my family. We support each other in following our own dreams, whatever it is, as long as we as individuals are happy. So that was really big in my family. So my family, they were very supportive of it. I ended up getting a teacher on one condition. I cannot share with you guys what that condition is. However, as you know, with history, I accepted the condition that she would be willing to be my teacher on a very specific condition. So, you know, there it goes. I ended up getting a teacher, and her only concern was that I was not going to become a problematic student, you know. Somebody who was always getting stuff sent to them and somebody who's always sending stuff, you know, like those kind of things were more important to her. She was definitely already prestigious and she had tons of students galore. And then as long as I didn't cause any trouble, etc. So now she is very, very careful about who she takes on as students, just because, you know, I've done a video about my teacher and the drama world that she definitely lived through as well. So, you know, she just had no idea how much she was going to fall in love with me, but she did. And so it was just, you know, like things really worked out for myself. But I also know that not everybody is going to have the same opportunities, right? So that is definitely something that I think it is very important for people to realize that, you know, can you learn shamanism, etc.? Yes, you can. Okay, even if you don't have the support, but I'll tell you guys why the support is important. So with my lineage, we practice animal sacrifices because it is the whole trifecta. You take and you give it back to the universe, and it all rotates. It keeps moving, right? Whereas nowadays, I've noticed a lot of shamanism is turning towards using stones and rocks and pots, things that live forever, okay? So my own opinion, y'all, if I ever took on students again in the future, that would never be allowed for my lineage, because the workings behind everything and why it's important, okay, again, it's my own opinion, okay? It's cause and effect, you guys. So you have to know those kind of rules and laws. And I can't tell y'all, but I'm hinting it like crazy that should be abided by. And it's freaking beautiful, you guys. Like, I know it sounds really like, and it looks really, and it smells really bad, but it's if you see it from the spiritual side, it is so beautiful, like with the animals. And when you are the shaman, any shamans who are watching and you use animals, that feeling that comes over, that it's beautiful. So it's so different using animals and having a spirit alive with you as you're doing it. And it's so beautiful to the people receiving it. And so it's just, you know, I view things very differently, and especially because that's my teaching, though. That is my teaching from my spirit guides. So back to why do you need the support? Okay. You can't kill and all those animals all by yourself. Okay. So what people might not understand is how many ceremonies a shaman does for themselves before you even tong, which means you're going outside, okay? Yes, if some people might see it as, well, the shaman doesn't really do anything other than name stuff when they go to ceremonies, because other people are doing all of that, getting animals and prepping and all that stuff, right? But to get to that point, okay, you need to fix yourself. You have to do the new year. You have to constantly raise your shrines. All of those require animals, you guys. Every single one of them. Even a hoopli. So, you know, some shaman lineages do not allow them to kill animals. Like myself. My shaman guides, they do not allow me to kill animals. So I can't. Now, how would I kill this chicken? Wait for her to die of natural causes? It's just, it won't happen, you guys. So that is why I would always need the support. And so for other people, especially like when it comes with like the saka definitely, and that's your ancestral shrine, right, for your family. So for different clans, they raise their saka differently. And so I know typically if I go and I see people, usually I can see what their saka is supposed to look like, right? But then every clan, again, theirs looks different based off of their ancestors and how their ancestors want it. So usually that's where the support comes in, where they can't see it. Okay, normal people, you can't always see it, okay? And so how do I know what the saka is supposed to look like, right? Because you don't want to raise something that's not right. You're going to get punished. So you don't want to just raise a shrine for your ancestors if that's not what they like or what they want. The support, it comes really from the males because it tends to have been taught to the males. So then the males would come in and they would actually show you how you're supposed to do it. And it doesn't always have to be your father. Like, for example, your father's not in the picture or they've passed away. Usually that's when you'll have like an uncle or a grandpa of the same clan. So it doesn't have to be even your exact grandpa or uncle. As long as they're from the same clan, then yes, they can show you how to raise a saka. So with every shrine, shaman shrine, you need a saka. They go hand in hand. Okay, so the shrine in itself, remember, the shaman shrine, it's meant for your koning. And then the saka, it's meant for your ancestors and the protectors of the family in the house. You know, like, they all stay in the saka. So your shaman koning are never your ancestors, okay? Don't misconstrue it, because some people think like their grandma becomes their spirit guide. Clarification on that really quick. Your grandmother's spirit, I don't care who they are, okay? It could be your aunt, okay? They can come and help guide you, but they are not your spirit guide. Make sense? Because your spirit guide is you, and you are your spirit guide. You are not your aunt or your grandmother. There are such things as reincarnations, though. And you know what's kind of funny? Okay, really quick, you guys know Avatar? I swear it makes sense. Okay, so Avatar can do this thing where he goes back into his past avatars and reconnect and try to get knowledge. It works similarly like that. That's what I'm trying to say here. So, you know, I'm not saying you're the Avatar. I'm just saying that you actually can bridge that connection. It takes time, but you can get there and you can unlock it. Even like your past lifetimes, you can see glimpses and images. You can see who you were, who you are, things that you had to do that was important. If you had children, etc. And then you're also going to have, you know, like you in the spirit world that you can also visit. All right, so that's what I meant by it's important to have support. However, you know, if I raised my shrine and I took on students, I don't care if you're paying people to get those animals as long as they get here, okay? Like, I don't care who they are. It does not have to be your family. It can be your friends, as long as your friends support you and they don't mind, because it ain't, you know, it's messy business, you guys. You know, usually you can, with the animals, you can actually bring it back and forth, you know, like you just need somebody with a truck or something who can have an animal in their truck. You know, it gets messy. That's just all I'm saying. So, you know, I've mentioned this in other videos too, like during my ceremonies, usually what we did was we just chopped up the meat and packed it up and gave it away to people who came. And then we ordered takeout. We catered food for our ceremonies. Sometimes we would cook it if it was like a pig, right? Because, you know, gaita is really delicious. And okay, gaita is basically where you're just deep frying pork meat. And then it's basically boiled pork with this green veggie that we use, like mustard greens or something. And it's delicious with rice. But anyways, I freaking love ceremony food. All right, but then in general though, we would, you know, if we're tired and it's easier to just cater food, okay? Now, the other thing that people talk about when it comes to support, it's going to be the whole family thing. You know, I've mentioned this in other videos too, especially like finding a teacher and stuff like that. A lot of teachers, because the Hmong culture is often misconstrued, you know, like we have traditions and we have religion, you guys. So traditionally, if you're younger, you have your parents come. If you're married, you have your in-laws come. You know, I mean, okay, if you're a girl and you got married, you would have your in-laws come. If you were a single girl, you would have your parents come. But if you're a boy, you would just have your parents come, not your in-laws. I mean, you could, but I'm just, in the Hmong traditions, it would look weird if you were a boy and your in-laws came, but not your real parents if they were alive. Because, you know, it means that you were a bad kid. That's why your real parents aren't there. I'm not saying you're a bad kid. I'm just saying that's how they view it, okay? So, with that being said, it's because with elders who are shaman teachers, they need that classification of who are you? What kind of Hmong are you? Without that, they don't know who you are. You're just a stranger. So that's why typically they would want the parents to come. And again, this is to protect the teacher, that you didn't, you know, convince these kids that they became shamans and then they became crazy, you know, like you have to get that whole picture, right? So that's usually why elders, they would want parents. Now, if it was me and I became a teacher again one day, I would much rather not have your parents involved. Okay, and I'll tell you why, okay? Because sometimes I've found, not from experience, but from observation of other people, people's parents can really misconstrue fledgling shamans. You know, like, you know, elders, they were raised a certain way. They see shamanism a certain way. So if your spirit guides don't match up, there's something wrong. They're going to judge the heck out of you. They're going to definitely mistreat your spirit guides. And so it's because they're not as open or as understanding that there's different styles now. There's different types. We don't need the old ways anymore because we live in such a modern time now. There's not a demon walking down the street, okay, in the middle of the night, and everybody can see it, whether they're a shaman or not, okay? Those kind of creepy real things happen in Thailand. But, you know, here in America, where, you know, like, I've touched base on this before too, it's a lot about, like, everything's changing. Times are changing. So certain spirits that were here before, they're not as prevalent. Now, this goes hand in hand. I could talk about this forever, you guys. Okay. This goes hand in hand with the types of shamans that are starting to come up, right? You guys are going to have the type who are like show, like more of the psychic type. And then you're going to have the old school type. So the old school type, you know, let's call them demon killers. So with that being said, I believe in the future there's going to be more show style that are actually going to come up versus the demon killers. Their lineage, I believe, is going to in the future become more rare, and it's going to become more expensive because it's harder to find them. A lot of them, due to their abilities, sometimes, you know, there's evil people out there and they want to send things to one another because they are really good at it, you guys. That's why I'm saying this, okay? You know, the demon killers are definitely, in the old school ways, they are definitely more valued for their skills. Like, who wouldn't want it that you can come and wipe out the ghosts in their house and they're living fine, right? Versus a psychic shaman who can just tell you how many ghosts are in your house, you know? So, you know, so the demon killers are the ones who are going to be able to bring you back from the brink of death, basically. They are going to become very rare because with those lineage types, you need to find a teacher willing to take you on, to really teach you those arts, and to bring those type of spirit guides down, right? So the show style, though, I feel, the psychic ones, you know, they are definitely, I've been noticing, they've been coming up a lot more. It's been happening quite a bit. Now, I will also say that the mix, all right, the hybrid, because I'm considered the hybrid. So the hybrid, you are always going to have both sides, but in the end, one is going to overpower the other. So you're either going to be really good at killing demons, or you're going to be very freaking psychic. So, but in the end, it's going to be in how you raise your spirit guides and how you go on your journey. And that is going to decide which one will overpower the other. So you will still have parts of the other side, the psychic side, right? So I used to be very psychic. And that led me to not living a really good life because, you know, like I couldn't touch food that someone else had touched, you know, like it was really sad. However, you know, with me balancing out now, it became hard because there's residual effects that still affect me. You know, like I still can sometimes tell if food is going to make me feel sick because it just looks disgusting to me. Like, even though it looks like it's prepared completely fine, it was prepared in an unclean way. So I already know, like, I shouldn't eat that. Like, I'm going to feel sick if I eat it. So there are still, you know, those residual effects, you know, and that's how come I can still see and hear things and all that great jazz. But it's just, but it used to be a lot more. Like, it was different before I balanced out. And then I became more of the demon killer. So, you know, now I'm just lazy and I don't do any of it. But I do still, because it doesn't leave you, you know, your spirit guides, even if you put them away, you know, so that you can live a normal life for a while, you know, like you still have, they're still here. It's just, I've talked about this in other videos too. The really, really strong ones are asleep and I can't wake them up, or things are going to go really bad for me, so I can't wake them up. But, you know, so it's just, it basically, if you come across a teacher who is willing to overlook certain things, and usually you just have to negotiate, you know, like, would you be willing to consider taking me on even though I don't have the family support? The thanking of your teacher and all that stuff, it's really teachable. Your teacher can teach you, you know, so all of those things, it is strictly up to your teacher. And I found, you know, especially with like the younger generation raising their shrines now, if they become their own person, meaning they are not heavily swayed by somebody else, that could be their own teacher, that could be their own family members. So if they become more independent and they choose to take on other shamans who don't have the kind of support that maybe they had, or even the chances that they had, you know, then yeah, I can totally see a lot of shamans coming up. And that is definitely the biggest hurdle right now for a lot of monk shamans who are young even, who know that they have spirit guides and they can feel them and they can sense all these things already. And it's like spilling into their real life, right? Because they're supposed to raise their shrine. But it's not easy because they need a teacher. Now, I have been asked, oh my God, my cat scared me. Okay, sorry. Now, I have been asked, he's just walking around. But I have been asked if you can basically become a shaman without a teacher. And yes, you can. However, that means your guides teach you everything. Everything. Okay, that goes hand in hand with, you know, you raise your shrine without anybody needing to teach you. You know how to do it. You can go and get your own spirit guides. You know how to do it. You can clean yourself. You know how to do it. I mean, I'm thinking about it like, well, my teacher didn't do that for me. Okay, your spirit guides will teach you those things, right? They teach you how to do those things. But, you know, like, for me though, I definitely heavily relied on my teacher because I'm one of those people who just don't listen to nothing. I need somebody to be like, no, like, cause I had a lot of questions, you know, like the cloth colors, like, can I have my eyes open or closed under the hood? And I had so many questions, you know, and so for other people though, if they don't need that, you know, you don't have those kind of questions for somebody because you could find the answer yourself because your spirit guides will tell you, then you don't need a teacher. It is very, very possible. I have never come across a shaman who could raise their shrine without their teacher. Would I recommend it? No. Heck no. I don't recommend anybody raising themselves. The reason is because you have a really high chance of going crazy. So, I mean, anything with shaman stuff, you have a very high chance of going crazy, you guys. So, I mean, I'm crazy in general, but I really mean gone, like far gone, crazy. So, you know, it's, that's why usually I recommend, even if you have really talkative guides like myself who show you a lot of things and talk to you and yell at you, and it's always good to have somebody check yourself. Like for me, I always wanted somebody to check myself to know, have I gone to the deep end? Am I crazy now? Like, you know, you just don't want to, I mean, some people might, I don't know, but you know, you don't want to be that crazy person that nobody really wants to tell you you're crazy because they know you're crazy. You know, so I just wanted to make sure I was okay. So those were my safety precautions. And that's why I chose to have a teacher. So, you know, in hindsight though, I didn't grow up knowing shamanism or knowing what to do during ceremonies or anything like that. And look at me, you guys. Okay, like I had students, and having students is a pain. It is. And I honestly, I feel like that and seeing what my teacher went through really kind of gave me an icky feeling about having students. It's just, it's just terrible. It's a hot mess. There are so many parties involved, and it is just so dramatic. You really don't need that in your life, in my life. All right, you guys. So, in a nutshell, yes, all of these things, it's possible. You can become a shaman even without the support and even without the knowledge of shamanism. However, you just need to find a teacher who's willing to accept you with your conditions. You may have to accept certain conditions from your teacher as well. Like for me, like I'll just drop you whenever I want. It's like, so those are just certain conditions. And, like for myself, I don't believe in making it hard for my students. If we go that route of raising your shrine and you're just struggling with simple things, it's a no. Because there's only so much that I can help you, because my teacher taught me that way. So I have to teach it that way as well, where I don't teach you how to ordain in the spirit world. Your spirit guides need to come and teach you, because you can't have your teacher teach you how to do things in the spirit world, because your teacher won't always be there. So your spirit guides really need to take over. So for my lineage, we are definitely the type where your spirit guides are very prevalent, and they are talking to you, they're telling you what to do. You can feel it. Like, that is my lineage. So I did have a student who was not like that. Some of my spirit guides went down to them, so then that way they could sometimes hear things and see things, but it was small glimpses. And so it was very, very difficult with that student, because they were looking for this exact same gifts that I had. But that's not always going to happen to all students. So I've just discovered it's just a terrible thing to have students who don't have it, because that's all they're interested in. And so that is my own personal choice from my own personal experiences. Even though, yes, I was able to raise him and make him go and shake and hungo and all that stuff and fix people, I just never felt like it was a perfect union, So it's very hard on the teachers as well. So just be understanding, you guys, like even being a shaman teacher, it's not easy, because you have to protect who doesn't know what to do, and they're just like running around wild. Like that's what it's like. Granted, I was that person before, but it's different when you've already been established. Now you're looking at this person like, what are you doing? Stop going over there. Literally, that's what it's like, you guys. All right, you guys, so that's it for this episode. Until next time.